In a neighborhood, a family esteemed by their community and led by a respected judge, Elijah Harper faces an unimaginable upheaval. For over 2 decades, Elijah and his wife, Mariah, have built a life filled with shared memories and 3 children they believed were bonded by blood and love. But today, the veneer of this perfect family image shatters irreparably. A routine DNA test, intended to trace their ancestral roots, reveals a shocking truth that sends shockwaves through their lives. The children, whom Elijah has raised with all the devotion of a loving father, were fathered by none other than his own brother, Nathaniel, a former police officer turned pastor. This revelation does not just question paternity, it unravels the very fabric of trust and loyalty that held the Harper family together. As we delve into their story, we uncover the layers of betrayal that lie hidden beneath the surface of familial bonds, exploring how deep trust, once broken, reshapes every relation in its wake. Join us as we journey through the Harpers' darkest hours to the tragic finale that none could have foreseen. At the heart of our story stands Judge Elijah Harper, a figure of judicial prowess and moral rectitude in the eyes of his community. At 56, Elijah's career on the bench is marked by a staunch dedication to the law, a commitment that often pulls him away from the warmth of his family hearth. His absence is a sacrifice, one he deems necessary to uphold the scales of justice. Yet, in the shadows of his professional commitments, the foundations of his personal life begin to erode. Please kindly subscribe to our channel for more true crime. Mariah Harper, Elijah's wife of 26 years, carries the quiet strength and patience required of a judge's spouse. At 52, she finds herself navigating the loneliness that comes with her husband's extensive travel and long hours. In search of companionship and understanding, she turns increasingly towards the one other constant in her home, her brother-in-law, Nathaniel. Nathaniel, once a respected police officer, now dons the robes of a pastor and, having turned to faith as his redemption from a scandal that tainted his badge with accusations of drug misconduct. Despite the blemish on his past, Nathaniel and Elijah share a bond forged in childhood, unbroken by time or tribulation, or so it appeared. Nathaniel's presence in the Harper household is both a comfort and a complication. Living with his brother's family after his fall from grace, he becomes an integral part of their daily lives, stepping into the void left by Elijah's absences. His transition from law enforcement to spiritual guidance has not only reshaped his personal identity, but has also allowed him to cultivate a unique role within the family, particularly with Mariah, who appreciates his constant presence and support. Amidst these complex adult relationships, 3 younger lives unfold, largely unaware of the underlying tensions. The eldest, Aaliyah, 22, mirrors her father's seriousness and has embarked on her own legal studies, aspiring to follow in Elijah's formidable footsteps. Next is Brianna, 18, a spirited and artistic soul whose aspirations drive her towards the arts, seeking to capture the world's beauty amidst its chaos. The youngest, Caleb, at 15, remains engrossed in the throes of adolescence, balancing the challenges of high school with the budding excitement of young adulthood. Each of them, in their own way, navigates a path influenced yet obscured from the truths lurking within their lineage. As these individuals move through their daily routines, the facade of normalcy persists, upheld by the shared silence of the adults around them. The children, cherished and nurtured, remain blind to the undercurrents of discontent and secrecy that flow beneath the surface of their familial ties. But as we will see, the foundation upon which they have built their identities and understanding of family is the threads that bind them are quietly unraveling, leading to an inevitable disclosure that will challenge the very essence of what they believe and who they trust. The threads of suspicion often weave quietly through the fabric of our daily lives, unnoticed until they pull tight, unraveling the truth hidden within. For Judge Elijah Harper, the first signs of doubt crept into his mind not through what was said, but what was left unsaid and seen in the shadows of night. Late-night whispers and the soft glow of a cell phone screen began to punctuate the quiet evenings at the Harper residence. Text messages, swiftly hidden as footsteps approached, sowed the seeds of doubt in Elijah's heart. His wife, Mariah, always a beacon of warmth and honesty, seemed now to guard a secret, her eyes flickering with an unfamiliar restlessness. And Nathaniel, his brother and confidant, bore a look of solemnity that was once reserved for the pulpit. A slow shift in the atmosphere, like the quiet before a storm. Elijah, trained to observe and deduce, found himself piecing together a puzzle he never wished to solve. As weeks turned into months, Elijah's professional acumen for discerning the truth from half-told stories led him to trust his instincts. His judicial mind, attuned to evidence and facts, could not dismiss the growing body of circumstantial evidence that formed before him. Each late-night text, each hurriedly ended conversation, was a thread pulling him towards an unavoidable conclusion. But the decision to undertake a DNA test was both a judicial and personal crossroads. Under the guise of a family health screening, Elijah proposed a genetic analysis for what he explained were preventive health measures. The children, unsuspecting and trusting, agreed without hesitation. Aliyah, Brianna, and Caleb, their lives intertwined in the innocent belief of shared heritage, provided their samples with the simplicity of trust that children hold in their parents. Each strand of hair collected, each swab taken, was a step closer to uncovering a truth that would alter the course of their family's history. Elijah, with each sample secured, sent them off to a reputable lab, his heart heavy with the weight of impending knowledge. As he sealed the envelopes, his hands trembled not with doubt, but with the gravity of what this test could mean. It was a moment suspended between the known and the unknown, where every possibility still existed simultaneously. The last moment in which he could believe that the life he had built was as it seemed. In this quiet turmoil, the Harper household continued its daily rhythms, a veneer of normalcy that belied the seismic shifts about to occur. Mariah, perhaps sensing the impending storm, was more reserved, her laughter a bit too forced, her smiles a bit too quick to fade. Nathaniel, too, seemed caught in an internal struggle, his sermons filled with themes of forgiveness and redemption, as if speaking directly to the heart of his own fears. As the results loomed on the horizon, the air within the Harper home grew thick with unspoken words. Meals were eaten with an undercurrent of tension, and the evenings, once filled with the shared comfort of family, now passed with each member lost in their own thoughts. The children, still shielded from the adult concerns, sensed a change, their youthful intuition aware that the adults in their lives were bracing for something beyond their understanding. With the arrival of the DNA results, the last piece of the puzzle would fall into place, revealing a picture that none in the Harper family were prepared to see. It was a revelation that would challenge the very foundations of their relationships, testing the bonds of brotherhood, marriage, and paternity. For Elijah, the result would not just be a confirmation or denial of his suspicions, but a defining moment in his life and the lives of those he loved most deeply. Please kindly subscribe to our channel for more true crime. The envelope containing the DNA test results lay unassumingly on Judge Elijah Harper's desk, an ordinary object that carried extraordinary consequences. As Elijah tore open the seal, his hands steady with the resolve of a man accustomed to facing harsh truths, the contents within confirmed his deepest fears. None of the 3 children he had raised, loved, and believed to be his own were biologically related to him. They were, the report stated unequivocally, the progeny of his brother. The revelation struck Elijah with the force of a physical blow, leaving him reeling in a vortex of betrayal and disbelief. The room seemed to spin and the walls closed in as the magnitude of the deceit he had lived under for decades settled upon his shoulders. How could the brother he trusted so implicitly, the brother he had supported and loved as his own, betray him in such a profound and personal manner? How could Mariah, his partner of over a quarter century, the mother of his children, have deceived him so completely? The questions pounded in his mind, each one a hammer strike to the foundations of his world. Elijah's heart raced, and his breathing grew erratic as he grappled with the emotional turmoil that surged through him. Anger, grief, and a profound sense of loss intertwined, each emotion vying for dominance. In these moments, the judge, known for his stoic demeanor and measured judgments, found himself lost in a sea of despair, his usual clarity of thought drowned out by the roar of his betrayal. Driven by a tempest of hurt and rage, Elijah left his chambers, the DNA results clenched in his fist like a verdict he could not escape. His drive home was a blur, the familiar streets a mocking reminder of the life he thought he had. Upon arriving, the house that had once been his sanctuary now seemed a foreign, hostile place. He entered quietly, the weight of the gun in his coat pocket a heavy, cold reality against the heat of his boiling anger. Elijah produced it from his pocket and held it in front of his face, looking at it. Inside, the sounds of everyday life, laughter and the clinking of dishes, felt surreal, as if belonging to another family, another life. Elijah called out, his voice calm but laced with an undercurrent of fury. Mariah appeared, her smile faltering as she saw the look on her husband's face. Behind her, Nathaniel emerged, his expression one of confusion that quickly turned to fear as he noticed the rigid posture and cold eyes of his brother. The confrontation that ensued was charged with a dangerous energy. Elijah, with a voice that trembled not with fear but with unbridled emotion, confronted Mariah and Nathaniel with the DNA results. Accusations flew, voices raised in desperation and defense, but the truth lay bare, undeniable and cruel. As Mariah pleaded for forgiveness, tears streaming down her face, and Nathaniel tried to explain, to justify, Elijah's world continued to crumble. In a moment of overwhelming pain and anger, Elijah pulled the gun from his pocket, the metal glinting ominously in the dim light of the living room. The air thickened, time slowed, and a tragic series of events unfolded rapidly. A struggle, a shot echoing louder than any word could, and then another. When the police arrived, summoned by the terrified calls of Aaliyah, Brianna, and Caleb, they found a scene of irreversible tragedy. Mariah and Nathaniel lay still on the sapphire bed, trying to rest, who alone had found writing talent. Their lives ended in a moment of despair and loss, while Elijah stood among the ruins of his family, a man broken by the very people he loved most deeply. Please kindly subscribe to our channel for more true crime. In the chilling silence that followed the gunshots, the Harper home, once a bastion of familial love and security, transformed into a scene of despair and confusion. The children, Aaliyah, Brianna, and Caleb, emerged from their rooms, drawn by the noise that shattered their innocent expectations of a normal evening. Their faces, etched with shock and disbelief, mirrored the chaos that had erupted so suddenly in their lives. Without hesitation, Aaliyah, the eldest, her hands trembling and her voice barely a whisper, dialed 911. She reported the tragedy with a calmness that belied the storm of emotions raging within her. The operator's voice, steady and reassuring, promised that help was on the way. As sirens cut through the suburban stillness, arriving with the urgency that such a catastrophe demanded, law enforcement officers stepped into a tableau of tragedy. They found Judge Elijah Harper standing amidst the turmoil, the gun now lying discarded on the floor, his posture that of a man defeated by his own actions. With professionalism yet a discernible heaviness in their steps, the officers arrested Elijah. His rights were recited, a surreal echo in the chaos, as he was his head bowed, not in defiance, but in a devastation too profound for words. The news of the incident rippled through the community with a speed and intensity that left neighbors and colleagues reeling. The Harpers, known for their civic engagement and the respect they commanded, had fallen from grace in a manner most tragic and dramatic. Whispers filled the air at the local church, the courthouse, and in grocery store aisles, each person trying to reconcile the family they thought they knew with the stark reality now broadcast across news outlets. The community's shock was palpable, a shared grief for the loss of life and the shattering of an image they had held dear. Within the family, the aftermath was a labyrinth of grief and unanswered questions. Aaliyah, Brianna, and Caleb, suddenly thrust into a world without parents, grappled with their new reality. Relatives and close friends rallied around them, providing support and a semblance of stability in a life that would never be the same. Conversations about the future were tentative, filled with a cautious empathy, as everyone around them attempted to piece together a pathway through the wreckage left behind. The trial of Judge Elijah Harper was a focal point not just for the legal community but for a nation captivated by the drama and tragedy of a respected judge brought low by personal torment. Charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, the courtroom became a stage for a harrowing tale of family betrayal and vengeance. Prosecutors laid out a case steeped in evidence: the DNA test results, the recovered firearm, and the harrowing 911 call made by Elijah's daughter. They painted a picture of a man who, consumed by betrayal, resorted to irreversible violence. Defense arguments, however, painted a different picture. They portrayed Elijah as a victim of extraordinary emotional and psychological distress, driven to the brink by revelations of profound personal betrayal. His attorneys argued for leniency based on his mental state at the time of the shootings, seeking to shift the narrative from premeditated murder to a moment of overwhelming emotional disturbance. They brought in psychological experts who testified about the impact of such deep personal shocks and how they could temporarily impair judgment and self-control. During the sentencing phase, the atmosphere in the courtroom was thick with anticipation and sorrow. Elijah, once a figure of authority in that very room, now stood as a broken man facing judgment. In a final statement, he expressed profound remorse for the irreversible harm he had caused, not just to his wife and brother, but to his children, who were now left to navigate life without their parents. The judge, in delivering the sentence, considered the severity of the crimes, but also the unique psychological torment that led to them, sentencing Elijah to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Legal experts following the case provided further insights into its unusual aspects. Many highlighted the rare instance of a sitting judge being tried for such serious crimes, discussing the psychological and ethical dilemmas the case presented. Others focused on the legal precedents related to crimes of passion and how they were applied to Elijah's case. The consensus was that while the legal system had acted within its bounds, the case underscored the complex interplay between law, emotion, and moral judgment. In the aftermath of such a profound family tragedy, the psychological repercussions are both deep and enduring. Dr. Lillian Hayes, a clinical psychologist, sheds light on the severe impacts of betrayal and trauma. When trust is shattered so fundamentally within a family, Dr. Hayes explains, it can lead to long-lasting psychological scars. They may experience issues with trust, forming relationships, or emotional stability well into adulthood. The Harper children, having witnessed the collapse of their family structure in such a dramatic fashion, are likely to carry these psychological burdens, navigating a world that feels less secure. Moreover, the societal reverberations of this case are significant, touching on issues that resonate far beyond the Harper household. This tragedy illuminates the pressures that come with maintaining appearances and the often unspoken expectation to uphold a facade of perfection. Society frequently places immense value on the illusion of a perfect family life, sometimes at the expense of addressing underlying issues. The Harper case challenges these norms, prompting a broader discourse on the authenticity and transparency within our personal lives. Experts in family dynamics and social behavior also highlight how the case tests the boundaries of moral judgment. Dr. Hayes points out, when individuals in positions of authority, such as Judge Harper, falter under personal strain, it forces a reevaluation of how we perceive integrity and moral capacity. The public's fascination with the Harper case reflects a collective grappling with these complex themes, questioning how we can better support individuals in managing personal crises without resortive to destructive outcomes. Through this lens, the Harper family tragedy is not just a private ordeal, but a societal mirror, reflecting back the critical issues of trust, moral boundaries, and the pressures of public persona that shape our communal and individual lives. As we reach the end of our journey through the harrowing saga of the Harper family, we are left to ponder profound ethical and moral questions. Can forgiveness ever truly be extended in cases of such deep betrayal? What does justice look like when the lines between victim and perpetrator blur? And is redemption possible for those who commit acts in moments of extreme emotional duress? The implications of this tragedy extend beyond the individuals involved, challenging the very foundations of our legal and family systems. When trust, the cornerstone of familial bonds and legal integrity, is shattered so irrevocably, it prompts a reevaluation of how these systems can provide support and redress when internal sanctuaries become battlegrounds. In closing, we reflect on the resilience of the human spirit. The Harper children, thrust into a maelstrom of loss and betrayal, face a long road to healing, yet within this profound adversity lies the potential for growth and understanding. Their journey reminds us that while the path to recovery may be fraught with challenges, it is also paved with the possibility of forgiveness, resilience, and ultimately a deeper understanding of the complexities of human relationships. Please kindly subscribe to our channel for more true crime.